We're in Whitehall, opposite Downing Street, and there's a protest here going on. There's a lot of people turned up at very short notice because Israel's President Herzog is coming to meet Keir Starmer, unbelievably. And it's so fucking English, isn't it? So like, bring him over for tea.
You know, come over, Herzog, you war criminal, you genocidal maniac. Come for tea at number 10, where all the disgusting, abominable meetings take place with all the worst people, including our own Prime Minister, who is a Zionist.
Israelis say stop starving Gaza. This is fantastic. I mean, the Israeli president's coming. The message from Israelis is not to support him, but to criticize what's going on. How big is the movement in Israel against what's happening?
It's growing. It is growing. I can't say that it's the majority of the people, but there were recently 2.5 million Israelis on the streets and taking strike action with the demand to stop the war. There is a growing movement of Israelis who, for instance, are supporting families in Gaza, sending the money so they can buy food. There is a growing opposition in Israel, and maybe it's not the majority, but it's growing, and it's many thousand. I think I can say hundreds of thousands, probably safely.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, when you say that, what happens if you speak out? I mean, is there a lot of trouble for people who would go on a protest about this?
Depending if you're Jewish or Palestinian citizen of Israel. There are more problems for Palestinian citizens of Israel. At the beginning of the war, there were instances of Palestinian citizens of Israel losing their jobs, being harassed and so on. It's less so for Jewish Israelis, but yeah, I mean, people are being arrested, people are being beaten up, but you know, there is still a right to demonstrate. The problem in Israel is that the internal security minister now is the arch-Nazi, Itamar Ben-Gvir, and he's in charge of the police. So the police under his leadership, if I can call it that, are much more brutal. But it is still possible to demonstrate. It is also possible for soldiers to refuse to enlist, to refuse to go to Gaza. And this is also a growing movement. There are reservists that just don't show up for reserve duty. There are young conscripts who go to jail. So, you know, Israel, it's not the Turkish jail for pacifists, but it's a very unpleasant and harsh experience for 18 years old who refused to go to enlist into the IDF and refused to go certainly into Gaza or anywhere in the occupied territories.
How long have you been campaigning about what's happening in Palestine and campaigning for
I have always been an anti-Zionist. I was raised in a working class family in Brooklyn, New York, and I understood that the Zionists were not supporting working class struggles. We were against them from the beginning. I think you should know I'm quite elderly. I just turned how old?
95.
I just turned 95.
Wow.
So I have a lot of experience with that type of filth. I don't have any use for it. My father was helping to build the unions with the help of my mother, and we were not Zionists. We knew they were against us, and we didn't trust them. And then I came to this country. I married someone from this country, and I found out that when they fought for the Nazis here, the Zionists refused to fight. They told the Jews not to fight. The Jews paid no attention. We fought like hell, and we won with the help of the Irish working class dockers They helped us, but not the Zionists. They didn't help us.
Wow.
No. We never got any help from the Zionists. What we got with them is starvation, and I will never forget that, and my grandchildren already know that. The problem is not anti-Semitism in this country. The problem is Nazism in this country and Zionism in this country. But there's no anti-Semitism to speak of. I'm a Jewish woman. I've had all my life as a Jewish woman. I walk the streets. My neighbors are my friends. You know, they know I'm Jewish. I fought Zionism and I fought all kinds of racism. What's that guy's name, the Nazi? He was getting help from the Zionists.
Oh, do you mean Tommy Robinson?
Yes,
Right.
that's the one. He's getting help from the Zionists. He's getting money from the Zionists. Everybody knows that. The community knows that. They are not on our side. They never have been, and they are not now.
There isn't an answer with a two-state solution. The only answer is for Palestinians to have their land back because it belongs to them.
That's right.
There was no Israel, it's an invention. Palestine is on every map. Listen, I grew up in the 50s and 60s, and they teach you some very cockamamie history and geography. And the whole world was a pink map virtually, and the pink represented the British and the colonialists and what they stole from everywhere, right? Palestine was one of those countries. Just like my parents' country, Nigeria, that was stolen land. And it's the theft of the land and the resources to build what? Bombs? Killing machines? They wouldn't have a single bomb if it wasn't for ripping off all of the stuff out of the Congo and wherever else they've gone with their extractive mining.
Yeah.
It wouldn't happen. So we have to get back to that. And we have to do away with this idea that nothing good ever came out of the global south. We formed this world, and it's time to go back to that civilization, not what they're trying to foist on us as some kind of civilization. Because killing and slaughtering, exterminating people and animals and everything, that is not civilized.
It's getting a bit dark now, but it's time for a few more interviews. So, can you tell us why you've come here? I mean, this is the head of state, effectively, of Israel, who's visiting Stama. He's not meeting the king. So it's not a state visit. Why on earth do you think he's come here, and what do you think of this?
I think Mr. Netanyahu will get arrested if he comes here, so that's why he's sending this guy here to speak on his behalf, trying to get more green light, more support, silent support for the genocide, what he's doing.
Oh, right.
That's what I think he's coming here for. And it's a shame, it's a disgust, it's a disgrace for this country, for him, such a war criminal, to come here. Someone has said that there's no innocent Palestinians in Gaza. Such a person is a Nazi, in my opinion. He should be tried immediately in The Hague for international tribunal.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! We are the people. We won't be silent. Stop the bombing now, 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 now.
We're just about to go, and then Craig Murray turns up. Now, Craig, do you understand why he's here, this Herzog?
I'm astonished this is happening. I mean, I really am. It seems to me like it's a demonstration that they can do it. It's a demonstration that they control the government, that Starmer's really beholden to them.
What do you think about the Palestine action stuff? Do you think that's making a difference, those protests?
I don't think so. I don't think we're going to see any change at all of tack on Palestine action. And in fact, I think we're going to see the High Court almost certainly cancel the judicial review. The Court of Appeal, will cancel the judicial review. The government's been granted leave to appeal against the decision to have a judicial review. And interestingly enough, the government's case against the judicial review was heard entirely in secret. They said we have nothing we can say in public, basically. It was all based on intelligence. So that's going to be a secret hearing, in effect, and I'm pretty sure we'll see the judicial review cancelled. The piece of hot news I can give you is we're beginning a separate judicial review in Scotland to say it's illegal under Scots law, whatever the law is down in England.
Right, so we'll all be moving up there. Do you mind the settlers from England going up there?
You'll be extremely welcome.
Oh, okay. Well, your carriage might await soon. It's not that one, I hope.
Yeah, no, I should. It's my cunning plan, because I look very respectable and have grey hair and a posh accent. I'm going to go to a hotel where we think Herzog's going to be staying. So I booked a very expensive car, and I'm going to swish up to the door in a suit and see if I can just walk in.
Do you know what? I was thinking that, but if you see him at breakfast, will you chuck a grapefruit at him?
And more, yes.
Cheers. Craig's just said he's going off to the Intercontinental Hotel. So it looks like maybe the President of Israel's staying there the night. So we're going to have a look down there, see what it looks like down there.
What is the instructions at the moment?
Section 14 of the Public Order Act 1986. The conditions have been put in place at 2155 by Inspector Godwin of the City of London Police. The conditions were read out by the inspector at the time, but obviously due to the noise...
What about the arrest warrant for Mr. Isaac inside?
Sorry?
What about the arrest warrants for Isaac inside?
Currently...
There's a war criminal inside. Are you guys going to arrest him as well?
So currently that person isn't wanted in this country for any of legislation and isn't wanted by the human courts for any crimes. So I don't know where you've got your information, but I was told in my briefing today that that person isn't currently shown as wanted for any crimes. So in the British law we can't action against that person, can we?
Yeah, but under international law, this country has the obligation to prevent genocide.
So again,
this is the law in this country, nothing to do with outside.
Again, the International Criminal Courts at this time haven't issued an arrest warrant for that person, so that's why we're no longer actioning it.
I said I've killed over 100,000 people.
I don't know.
You don't know? I'm asking you to go and arrest him and investigate him.
Okay, Section 40 conditions are in place, all right?
Free Palestine, stop the genocide. This is democracy 2025. This is democracy 2025.
We are the people. We won't be silent. Stop the bombing now.
Isaac Herzog, the president of genocide, is in that building over the road. Lock him up, 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 lock him up.
You should be ashamed of yourself. Deeply bloody ashamed. Well, the members of Chatham House are now coming out after the President of Israel has left. I'm devastated. I used to be a member of this place. I've actually lectured in this place myself. The fact that, the Royal Institute of International Affairs is platforming a war criminal just shows the extent of Zionist capture of this institution. It really is appalling. A Zionist capture of the entire British establishment. I can't see that the government gains anything at all by inviting him. There's zero diplomatic activity genuinely happening. And effectively, it's the Israelis demonstrating they can do it. They are demonstrating their control of the British establishment and they can do what they want. And the fact that they can come here in the middle of the genocide, when they're bombing Qatar, when they're bombing the aid convoy off Tunisia, and then they can get platformed in the most prestigious places of the British state, and they can get protected by the Metropolitan Police, who should be arresting them. It's just astonishing. The whole thing is like a nightmare. Chatham House was originally a research institute closely linked to and largely funded by the Foreign Office. In recent years, it's become more dependent on private sector donations, including many major arms dealers like Lockheed, for example. When I resigned from the Foreign Office over torture and extraordinary rendition, I was actually invited to lecture at Chatham House on torture and extraordinary rendition and the CIA's torture program and British complicity in torture, which goes to show the extremely different orientation it had when it was a genuinely independent organisation. It still has the veneer of independence and respectability, but actually it's not. It's now an entirely captured Zionist institution, like so much else in the British establishment.
We're joined by Shamiul from Friends of Al-Aqsa. Thank you for coming on. Now, one thing that was reported in some media, but not enough, was the fact that Friends of Al-Aqsa applied to the Director of Public Prosecutions and the Attorney General for criminal proceedings to be made against President Isaac Herzog. Can you tell us what happened?
So when we heard the President of Israel, Herzog, is coming to the UK, of course we're going to have a demonstration wherever he is, make sure that he understands the feeling from us all. But we also need to make sure that we do practical things that shows that he is really a war criminal. And for us was to put in an application to the courts, to DPP and CPS, an application for his arrest warrant. Now that obviously takes a lot of time, the legal wranglings around it, getting the barrister, appointing everyone, get everything written up. So we put the application in, and then it didn't get chucked out straight away. Which is, I suppose, surprising to an extent. And then the update that we got, obviously he was here for 3 days. So that was day one. From the update we got was that it's now being referred to a specialist. But then when they replied back saying that they reject their arrest warrant, the reason they gave was interesting. The reason they said was there wasn't enough evidence. There wasn't enough evidence to suggest he's a war criminal, which was bizarre. Obviously, in our application, we had evidence there. We put evidence there, but also a simple Google search gives all the evidence that's required in terms of his statements and his actions perpetrating a genocide. On top of that, a dossier was given to the Metropolitan Police as well. So if they chose to, they could have found this evidence. That was the reason they gave. The reason they gave was there was lack of evidence. So for us, we thought, okay, that's not good enough. That doesn't make any sense. So we decided to put in an application for judicial review to challenge that decision. Now, what's interesting here is that it got granted for the hearing at the High Court at 9 o'clock in the evening. It was an emergency one. It was online. In present was ourselves representing from the Department for CPS and DDP. Now, what's very, very interesting, it lasted for about an hour and a half. And at the end of which, when he went to make his decision after consideration, which again took another half an hour or so, he gave a couple of reasons. One, what he was saying in terms of time scale, to this is the troubling bit, to the Director General, he has full prerogative to not give a reason as to why he should be arrested. So the court is saying that Director General has full authority to not disclose the reason why he is rejecting the arrest warrant. So there can be any reasons, but he's above the law in essence. That's what we're hearing here. He's above the law. He doesn't have to give a reason why he is saying no to the arrest warrant. This is a huge infringement of freedom, of transparency, and of our law. That a war criminal can come here and he is then protected by the Director General, and he doesn't even have to give a reason why. No reason whatsoever. That's one astounding thing. The second astounding thing happened here is that at the end of the consideration when the judgment was given, the CPS said the letter that we got from the DDP saying that he was protected by diplomatic immunity. We were wrong. They didn't say that. We didn't say that. Essentially, there's a lie taking place, which is given, that they're saying that the case was built on that, and obviously we put our case forward based on that as well, on false information. They lied. So there's two big issues going on here. One, the Director General can not give any reason as to why. And here the CPS is covering the state in terms of saying that, and essentially lying that the immunity was given as a reason, but they're saying no, it wasn't given as a reason. And this is all written, and it's in the recordings as well. So for us, then we had, because of the time scale, because he was going, there was very little for us to appeal. So the appeal courts are probably not going to grant it, but the timescale wasn't going to allow us to appeal because he was due to go. But what's interesting is that he was a 3-day visit, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. He left Friday, late Thursday night, early Friday morning. We don't know is because he felt as though there's going to be a rush, there's going to be a push into this, or that was genuinely, that was his timescale. We don't know. But what we do know, what we managed to expose, is the hypocrisy of the structures in the state, and how they're looking after themselves, and how the fact of immunity, we need to make sure that we continue to push this. So overall, it's something that we did because there's no way, because even if you think from a very logical sense, how can our government welcome a president of a state that's currently committing a live stream genocide where 63,000 Palestinians at least have been killed, and you'll welcome him to this country? It makes absolute no sense. How can anyone be protected through immunity from that? It makes no sense. And worse still, then Keir Starmer decides to welcome him into Downing Street. And for me, the mind boggles. What kind of conversation are they having? What conversation could possibly Keir Starmer be having with the president of a state that's committing a genocide at the moment? How can I cover you more? How can I whitewash your crimes more? How can I support you more? What can our Prime Minister be saying at this time? What was the need? Obviously, the Herzog came to show that he can travel the world. He can travel the world whilst committing these atrocious crimes of genocide and be welcomed. And this is something that we should never accept here. We should never accept this. So we will continue our legal challenges to any members of the Israeli government that come here. We'll continue to campaign and make sure that we're making the noise and they're followed around, because this cannot be normalized. And that's where we need to ensure we're also really challenging the state apparatus, because they are the ones that are supporting and providing cover. So we need to really, really make sure that all these apparatus of state need to be challenged at every single opportunity.